President of Jackson Media. We help you to grow and nurture your business. Really excited for this episode of Giant TV. I've got the founder of Kingo AI, Ross Hartmann. He has his thumb on the pulse on everything going on with AI, how businesses are using it. I also have Gary Jacobson, who is an incredibly successful Vistage Chair. The two got together with me on the show. We're talking about AI, doing a deep dive, how leaders are using it. You're not going to want to miss this. Let's go check it out. Hi, everybody. This is Paul Hitchcock. Welcome to Giant TV. I'm the founder and president of Jackson Media, where we help others to grow and nurture. And really excited for this episode today. I have two incredible people on. I have Gary Jacobson, who is a very successful Vistage Chair out of Indianapolis. Welcome, Gary.
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, and then Ross Hartmann is the founder of Kingo AI and all about AI and what we all need to understand. And so this is going to be a lively chat. And I want to start with you, Gary, and get into a bit to your Vistage practice, what you're doing there, who's in your group there, seats you're trying to fill. It'll be helpful for Ross to understand the industries too, and maybe how AI is coming up in your group.
Great. Well, Paul, I've been at it for about 1 year now with Vistage.
Yeah.
I have 8 members. They're all in different industries: healthcare, music instruments, oil and gas, cooperatives, auto suppliers, marketing companies. So we've got a good breadth of companies. Their sales go from 5 million to 2 billion.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Nice.
All of them have something very important to bring to our table. As far as it goes with AI, it's come up frequently. We've had one speaker on an introductory basis. I think most of my people are very interested in how this can save them labor hours. In our business, one of the biggest issues is finding people and finding qualified people, developing people, but they're hard to find. And people are very inquisitive about how this can save them from having to desperately find people that perhaps aren't totally qualified in a tough market. So I think that's what they're most interested in. There's been some concerns, obviously, about security and the moral issues involved with that. But there seems to be more of an optimism that this could save them a lot of effort, particularly on drafting information that then can be subsequently refined by the user. But I think that it's a very positive development, and I think most of my people are very interested in learning more and more about it.
Yeah, and I know you and I have talked a lot offline, Gary, and you have great people in your group there. And are you filling seats? And if so, who do you want on board there?
Well, we're looking for people that are C-suite people that make an impact, have an ownership mentality, and are probably owners as well of some sort. I need I'm trying to fill another 8 seats if I can by the end of the year. I know that's kind of optimistic, but I think we've got a good pipeline of people here. And I know with working with Giant Jacks, the lead generation has really been very helpful in closing some deals here recently.
Wow. So I guess I owe you something for that. I get a plug on the show. That's great. Thank you for that. Yeah. Well, Ross, let's get into what we all should know about AI and maybe how it applies to some of the industries that Gary's working in. Gary, yeah, you got questions. Let's flow this out.
Yeah. So, I mean, first thing, like Gary was saying, AI can apply in a number of different areas, but one of the things that businesses are looking for most is kind of where can we use it where we're having labor shortages, because it can apply to increase labor efficiency. I've been working with a number of companies who are saying, like you're saying, Gary, we just can't find people to fill various roles. And so I like to think of it in 2 distinct applications, and it has a bunch of different areas, but two categories are: one is a co-pilot, which is something that kind of sits on your screen and can help you on a day-to-day basis for knowledge workers. So you can say, I want to summarize this article, I want to draft this email, I want to solve this problem or do a contract negotiation, review a legal document, things like that. But then there's also this idea of having AI inside of your workflows as sort of workflow automation, essentially. And that's where it gets really, really powerful. And that's where you get the long-term competitive advantage, where you can have AI sit in at different points in your processes and procedures and quality check or categorize documents, move them from here to there, transform from PDF to Excel, all that kind of stuff.
Great. Great.
Yeah. And Ross, I know as you start talking about AI, talk about sort of the brains that you embed in a company and how companies might use it to have it look down into systems and so forth. I mean, what is that all about?
Yeah. So, I'm the founder of Kingo AI, and one thing that we do is we help companies integrate AI brains. And like you're saying, Paul, what does that mean? That's essentially where we kind of tie AI into your ecosystem. So you've got an ERP and a CRM and a ticketing system, and you've got all these various, financial systems and chats and emails and all of this data. But it's really hard to make sense of it, right? It's kind of in this black box in your organization. So what the AI does is it can come into your organization and start to unlock that data, give you new data insights. But then a key thing as well is it increases the velocity of information retrieval, which is a fancy word for saying you can find information quickly. And I say information and not documents, because traditional search within an organization has been like, we search for that contract, right, that we're looking for based on this client. And normally we would search the contract and then we pull it up and then we would start reading through it. But now we just ask questions. So we just say, I'm dealing with this client. I remember we had a contract last week. Can you tell me what the provision was on confidentiality or something? And then it'll just give you the answer. You don't have to go looking around your SharePoint or your Google Drive for the actual document and then spend 5 minutes reading where that is. The AI finds it and interprets it for you, essentially, and can summarize it for you, transform it for whatever form you need, use it to write an email based on that information. So the velocity of information retrieval is huge, and then workflow automation. So part of the AI brain is we embed it into your operations to help you start to automate some of those repetitive menial tasks so that employees are freed up to do things that are more engaging, more strategic, more abstract.
Yeah, fascinating. And Ross, you said something on one of the previous sessions we were doing that really struck me is when I asked you, how are companies, what's the first step in getting into all of this and discovering what can happen is, first of all, you said somebody's got to be a champion at the company for AI, which is great. And Gary, you may recognize this too and talk to your members, but Ross, you said sometimes it can sit in the background, things are going on, but if you got a champion, and this is true for any hot issue, is then things can move along. I just thought that made a lot of sense. And maybe Gary, you chime in. Are you finding that your folks, do they have somebody at the company that is focused on this, or is it they're trying to do it?
Well, from my perspective, a lot of our entrepreneurs are trying to do it. I mean, most of our businesses are small to medium sized, so they don't have a lot of staff to help them. And from what I can glean too, they like the fact, and they can get a better perspective on what can be achieved if they actually do some of the work themselves. And I would say that probably today's entrepreneur and CEO are probably much better versed in technological matters than, say, my generation. And so it doesn't, we probably go work on AI GPT with somewhat trepidation, worried about, oh my God, what's going to happen here? And am I going to just screw something up? And these folks are really comfortable with it, and they can see quickly how this can save them a lot of time that either they're outsourcing somewhere else or they're just reviewing documents or they have to create content first, and that takes the most time. But a lot of times what they do is they create content with AI and then refine it, and it saves them a lot of time without a whole major change in their organization.
Yeah, Ross, comment on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great point. And using it as a first draft machine, I think is key. Like you're saying, even if it does 70 to 80% of the final draft that you want, or gives you that first draft and allows you to edit it, that's
Right.
huge, right? Because a lot of time is spent facing the blank page and saying, I don't know where to begin with this. And so AI can help you overcome that hurdle. And then I also want to say, Paul, to your point of the AI champion, I know there's kind of this day after Vistage concept where everybody comes back from the meeting and they're crazy excited and they've got all these ideas that they want to implement, right?
Right.
And the day after an AI talk, I think people are incredibly excited and they can see the opportunity, they can see the possibilities. Very important. But the challenge is then the real world starts to come back in and you start to get the active, fires that you got to put out on a day-to-day basis. The urgency comes back in. And so it can be that AI kind of falls to the wayside and the importance is not forefront. And so that's why you kind of want that AI champion, someone who's going to make sure that your organization remembers, oh yeah, we need this for a long-term competitive, I would say advantage, but now I would also say survival. It is something that you have to implement going forward. And so that's why you want an AI champion to make sure that ball's not dropped.
Yeah, because that's a great point, because it ain't going away. And Russ, you also said previously, AI is as dumb as it's going to get right now. It's only going to keep getting smarter and smarter. It's here to stay. So either you're on board or you're riding the bench on AI and getting hurt. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, and I think it's a great point. I do like to say that this is the worst that AI is ever going to be. And a couple days ago, I believe Google announced they're training their new model called Gemini that's going to be released this December. And there are rumors going around that OpenAI might be secretly training GPT-5. Who knows? I do think roughly after Google releases Gemini, OpenAI will jump on GPT-5. It's nonstop. There's every huge tech company is pouring hundreds of millions, maybe even billions, into this technology right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it came to Gary. We were talking too before about how Vistage Chairs are using it for issue processing in your members. Ross, maybe you can highlight what's going on there.
Yeah, so some chairs are finding, I don't know if either of you have ever had a chance to do this, but you can go to the AI and help you solve problems essentially. So you can say, maybe maybe a member says, we don't close enough deals. And that's a broad problem, but it's an important problem solving thing. You can go to the AI, present it with that problem with the proper context and, what industry the member's in, maybe some of the things they've tried and they haven't tried. Because remember, the AI doesn't have any of that information. You provide that, and then it can start to help you brainstorm different ways you could close more deals. It'll start to help you get to the root of the problem. And so, yeah, chairs are using this as sort of an extra body in the issue processing portion of it. It doesn't have to guide the conversation, but it can be just a kind of another thought that can add into the conversation.
Yeah, and it seems like that would be a dynamic thing to be doing as a chair, showing that your members, you're on the forefront of it. And Ross, when you're talking about, the day after Vistage and it's hard to get things going, having the champion's key. And I would say one of the first steps is having a strategy session with someone like you. Like, okay, you're all hyped up about it. You're hot and bothered. That's great. Now what? A strategy session, because then things get, maybe action items get codified after that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, that is something that I offer. Folks can reach out to me, and then we do a little exploratory session essentially where I find out more about your business and then help you identify where are the opportunities, what's the feasibility, where can we apply AI to your organization. I'll give you a list of some tools. We go over, there's never enough time, but we can go over a little bit of prompt engineering and how to speak to the AI the best, whatever folks are most interested in.
Yeah, because a point is learning how to speak to the AI is important in getting the results that you want to see, right?
Exactly, exactly. That's called prompt engineering. You can look it up at learnprompting.org. There's a ton of other resources. I'm happy to provide that to anyone as well. And I did want to know. I know Gary had a question about privacy and confidentiality. Was that
Yeah.
right? Could you expand a little bit more on kind of what your members are concerned about there?
Well, I think they've seen, I mean, the most common thing is they've seen political ads that, you know, it later found out that this was really not that person speaking. It was a bot or whatever you call it. But it was not the real authentic person. So people are worried about this being misplaced and misused.
Yeah. Okay. So it's interesting. There's data privacy and data confidentiality, and incredibly important to make sure that you understand the agreements that you have with all these tools, even implicit agreements about how they can use your data to train their models, and how you want to turn off training for anywhere you can. But then you're also bringing up another great point, which is kind of fraud, scams, misinformation, propaganda. Like, this is a societal challenge that we've got with this technology now, because it is so easy to recreate human content. And I say that because it's
Yep.
not, you can duplicate voices, like you were saying, and it sounds nearly perfect. You would never be able to distinguish that it wasn't the actual person. And you can also take someone's likeness now. That's what the strikes are about right now. And it's a wild world we're entering. So, some of the things I talk to members about is that you have to put in security processes in place, such as two-factor authentication over the phone. So if an employee receives a call from the CEO that tells them to initiate a wire transfer, well, you got to hang up and you got to call them back at their number in case that number's spoofed. And then additionally, you have to ask the two-factor question, what's the passcode? And then you get that back. So it's a new world we're entering.
I actually had a meeting last week where one of my larger clients was questioning me about the method we were having our online meeting on, and whether this was recorded for training purposes, because the corporation wasn't going to allow that and would recommend they organize it to prevent that from happening. So yeah, it's a real concern. And at Vistage, we take confidentiality very seriously.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And that is an important reason why folks need to understand which tools they're using. It's often not a great idea to just go onto the internet and find the latest AI tool for meeting notes, for instance, and then to start using it. You really want to consider, how are they using your data? Are they training? And then one of the other things I recommend for companies is split your data into different buckets. So what's your kind of sensitive HIPAA level compliant information? What's your proprietary confidential information? And what's your low risk information? And you can use different tools and different processes for those different buckets.
Right. Yeah, and kind of sort of on a personal side and anecdotal, but it's just interesting how sophisticated AI is getting. As you mentioned, the voices can sound so similar. So there is a person on TikTok who they let everybody know that it's not the real thing, but they got a Tom Cruise AI, um, figure on there, exactly, doing things. It sounds exactly like him, looks exactly like him. You would never know in a million years if they didn't let you know. So that's amazing. And then, yeah, I mean, booking, even Google's got an amazing AI process of booking a restaurant reservation. I tell the assistant, go book me a reservation. It will actually calls and speaks to them and books and keeps me updated via text. And maybe everyone's doing that, but I'm always astounded by that. So it's unreal.
Oh, it is unreal. I mean, and the things that we're going to start seeing going forward, and the technology is already there. I saw a demo where on a sales call, the AI was transcribing the conversation, and the client was, or the lead was objecting. And so it would go back to their sort of database and pull out the proper response to that objection and feed it to the sales rep so that they knew how to respond appropriately.
Amazing.
You can imagine, doing cross-selling and upselling and increasing the average order size in that kind of scenario. And then and it is possible, having the AI perform that call itself, right?
Oh yeah.
That's a world we're entering.
Yeah, and I've asked the restaurant when they booked me a reservation, I said, tell me about your experience. What was it like? What was the voice like? And because I can pick the voice, so it's a nice, female voice that sounds great. And It's unbelievable. It's so funny because when I just mentioned to you that Google AI, I mentioned it, my phone popped up. Google AI comes on. How can I help you? Just right now because it recognized my voice saying it. Unbelievable, unbelievable. I could talk about this forever. This is so great, and I want to thank both of you for being here. And I want to tell everybody watching, because we're streaming this everywhere, that get connected to both Gary and Ross. Their information is somewhere around this video, wherever you're watching it. And they just have great content coming out of what both of them are doing. And Ross does have a complimentary strategy session. Gary also will tell you more in a complimentary strategy session about his group and the members he wants to fill. So thank you both for being here.
Thank you so much, Paul. Thank you, Gary. Appreciate it.
Okay. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye now.
Bye.